Hello, good morning, good evening. Hope you're well. It's a medical cannabis show, so I respect the law and I hope you do too. Today is an open topic. Well, I suppose that the Equinox is coming up. That's within a week. So it is coming up, but still, I can discuss that a smidgen, but it is an open topic. So hopefully there'll be a bit of discussion and some questions and things like that that'll start it off. I've had a bit of a break over the past 6 weeks. So, yeah, we'll see how things go today. People might have not put it into their regular sort of routine like it used to be. So we'll see if anybody shows up. And I'm probably going to hold this type of a style show for a while and see how this goes now. I'm not going to do the news and all the studies and that sort of stuff because that takes too much of my time, and I didn't seem to be getting much feedback from it. So I'll just try it this way, just leave it open where I don't have to do much. I just can share on my slides if there's questions and stuff like that, and yeah, concentrating more on the viewer, I suppose. So I need an interim. I need some videos to show before, because I don't know what to talk about now. I haven't got much. And nobody's rocked up yet. Well, I did have one thing. Wait for see if somebody rocks up. Or it might be an early show today. I had this one thing from the Federation of TAFE in Australia that they were doing a cannabis cultivation course, so that's positive for Australia. There was only taking a few 20 or so people for the first class, but at least it's a start. Yeah, so it's positive. I made up a new flyer for this new style of show, put a few cool pics in. All right, no. It's pretty cool. Future thing. And then Einstein with his cannabis bud. T equals HC squared. That's just a joke. Next runs a dispensary I think it's in Canada, with cool graph on the walls. And next is a education sort of silhouette on what's going on here. And endocannabinoids on the right hand side is really good. How it works with our body, that's why I'm blooming here, because it's not just a recreational drug, it's a extremely useful medical benefit, because it links with our bodies, with our receptors. Next one up, it says, if you smoke weed every day, learn to grow it. Yes, and respect the law where you are too. And that's true. If you're legal where you are, you should be here asking questions. Caution, exposure to cannabis may cause sudden outbursts of joy, happiness, energy, creativity, awareness, and spontaneous healing. Yes, and can kill cancer cells, among other things. Yeah, so there's a cool caution. And here's some rad pics. This is banana kush. No, God's white banana kush, yeah. At day, I think it had purple pistils. It was just so rad. Look at the anthers there. They're all dead set purple. This was grown under, in Canada, under HPS lighting. So there's no trickery there. That was awesome. It smokes so nice. This one is Gorilla Glue in Canada. And this one's Nukin, my favorite ever. Look at the swollen bracts or calyxes. It's awesome. Oh, and here's a joke too. So 419 is up the top because it's THCA, and then you decarb it, and then it makes it active, and it goes into 420 time. Woohoo! Heated above 105C to decarb it, it says here. I think that's a varying age can do that as well. Like air time. All right, well, there's a little. Oh, Aaron. G'day, Aaron. How you going? Aaron says it's good morning. It's been a while. I hope you're well. Yes, I was just explaining earlier. Oh, hello, Nick Kelly. G'day, friends. Just had a break. Changed the scenario, the type of, I'm not doing news or studies anymore because that used to take up a fair bit of my time and I didn't get much feedback. So, yeah, I'm going to just leave it open topic. I hope that works a bit better. And that's why I've changed up the slide here. Because that'll be what's going on for the next couple of months. I'll continue to do it each week at the same time because I don't have to put much effort in now, where before it used to take dead set like 30 minutes to an hour each day to keep up with all of the news and the studies. And then I'd have to read through the studies and see if they're relevant or not, because there's quite a lot of cannabis ones, but you don't know if they're medical ones or if they're in the areas that are relevant. A lot of them go off in tangents. We already know what's going on and how the plant works quite well, but particularly Australia, they need studies to satisfy their own people, like as if the overseas studies aren't satisfactory for them. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just going to do the open topics now. So if you've got questions, please throw them out because that'll keep the stream open. Otherwise, it'll be early streams each week because I don't really like talking. I find it hard just to continue talking and crapping on. Like I need something to talk on about. That's why I did write a bit of a topic today, the Equinox, because it is ready. So I can talk a little bit about that because it has a massive effect on the grow. Aaron's got a comment. I have some unfair medical news to share, but I'll wait until a few more viewers to show up. Yep. Yeah, Aaron's a fellow advocate in Australia who's quite knowledgeable and tries his best as well. And looks like he's, gone down the same route I've gone down, where you just find people aren't blooming interested in Australia. It's very, very odd. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the politics. But yeah, righto, sounds good, Aaron. I can talk about I did to prepare because I've got heaps of slides from my studies. So I did pull up some photosynthesis ones on talking about Equinox and spectrums and stuff. So I thought it was interesting because I needed something just in case nobody rocked up. You're sharing your entire screen, good. So yeah, just with photosynthesis. The light and the dark reactions. So the plant its photosynthesis happens 24/7. And when it's in the dark, it's just called the Kelvin cycle. So that's ATP is adenine triphosphate, and NADPH, I'm not going to name it. And those are the energy cells. So the light reacts with the chlorophyll to produce the ATP and NADPH, and then in the dark time, it reuses that to do its processes. There's some cool charts up here, 3 steps of light reaction. Yeah, I'm not going to go much into it because it gets very technical. The entire energy spectrum is made up of a wide variety of energy segments, starting from radio waves on the left to gamma rays, which on the right. And energy travels in that motion, so the tighter it gets, the more energy can be created. This is our visual spectrum. So we only see from 400 nanometers to 700 in our visual spectrum, but plants use a lot more of the wider range. The portion of spectrum is also known as the photosynthetically active radiation, or PAR. as its effective process for photosynthesis. So some people have PAR meters. So that's what they want to read. See what spectrum you go. Oh, yeah, see down the bottom here. Higher energy is produced per kilojoule in the lower 400s in the blues, and as it gets up to reds, it's a little bit higher. Actually, it says the number up here. It's pretty cool. So you can work everything right down. So to summarize, light is a form of energy with different wavelengths. The shorter the wavelength, the greater the energy to each photon of light. Certain wavelengths of light are detectable by humans and seen as colors, and visible light drives photosynthesis. Yeah, very good. That's the Mornger portion. All right, here we go. Here's the rad stuff. The action absorption ratio. So this is where the plant absorbs. So you can see down here, first on the x-axis, we've got the visible light. This is the nanometers. It goes up from 300 upwards. There's our visible spectrum that we see in here. Infrared's above that, and UV's down below. And then on the y-axis is the percentage total radiation, so from 10% up to 100. So you can see the plant loves to absorb all of this light right up to about 650, this is saying, and then it transmits out as well, and then it can reflect the bottom one. So yeah, it goes right down. See above the infrared, it still uses and it can absorb that light, but it's in very low portions of energy transfer. There it is. So energy carried by photons, the blue light is 274 kilojoules per mole, and the red light is 181 kilojoules per mole. So you can see that's close to, what's that, 30% more. It's a lot more the blue light compared to the red light. I think that's about all for me. Oh, I can go into this bit more detail, but actually see if there's any questions. Better have a look. Come back, and before I go on a wild tangent, Aaron says, I've been so very unfairly treated by the system very recently. Yeah, the system's called Australia, mate. Tell us your story, Aaron. Looks like we've peaked out at today's viewers. Tell us your story, mate. Do you want to come up? You can come up. It's just yeah, see yourself. But if it's hard to explain, you're welcome to speak out, I suppose, because the more to know, the better. And I believe you to be a fair and a honest person. So I hope that what you'd say would be the truth. So that's why I offered you to come up and have a say if you wanted to. But no swearing on the show. Get all sorts of strikes and all. But yeah, that's Australia is. There's a few good things happening. At least it started here. At least they're trying. I'm not going to go on about the negatives. They just do everything blooming wrong, etc., etc. But who am I to know all this sort of stuff, you know? All right, what else? I'll see if I'll continue on. I nearly need to talk at Equinox about the long day cycle that medical cannabis has. See, I wonder if I've got anything on that. Let me just have yeah, I'll show you what I'm looking at. Photosynthesis, circadian rhythm. No, it's not in there. Long day cycle. Is 12 hours enough? Here's some good. I wasn't going to share studies, but here's some good studies, actually. Yeah, this is relevant to what the topic is. All right, I'll show that. And this one too. Is that the one with the photos? Because that's a rad one if it is. No. I'll try and find that one actually. Because there's a rad stuff. Here it is, you beauty. You're going to be excited. So yeah, this is quite relevant to today's topic. So this one I'm going to share. Present, share screen. This is blooming awesome. This is probably what I should have started out at instead of that other uni stuff. But if you grow the plant under usually 12 hours, what people grow it under when they flip it. But this is a study on different hours of the daylight times. So you can induce the flowering period, the flowering hormones, florigen, by reducing the hours greatly, and depends what cultivar you've got as to the hours amount that you've got to reduce it. If it's equatorial, if it's up near Ruderalis, in the northern hemisphere, or the Great Southern, that actually is known in the southern. It's like Durban poison. But once you induce it, how many hours you grow it under? What difference does it make? And it's a massive difference. So, no, I'm not going to conclude it. I'll just tell you, this is rad. So this study went 12 hours, 13, 14, 15. Actually, this isn't a study then. I'll get right down to the photos. So this is exactly the same blue dream that's left in different rooms under different hours of light once it's flowering. And you can see from 15 hours, look how scrimpy it is down here, to 12 hours, it's a bit more chunkier. And I've done this experiment and found it to be so blooming true. So it actually, I've got another experiment too, which goes from 10 hours. And once it gets down to the 10 hours, it goes chunkier. So a suggestion for people who don't run CO2 is maybe don't do the 12 hours in the night, do a 10 on, 14 off, or even 11 on, 13 off. And if you don't run CO2, and you might find you're going to get chunkier numbers. Because this isn't, unless it goes down the bottom, which it doesn't look like it is. But yeah, I was thinking, that can't be true. But I did one under long daylight hours once it was induced, and it was true. It just wants to stretch and not really chunk out and develop. That one was Gorilla Glue, just proving different cultivars. So that's Gorilla Glue. This is powdered donuts. So you can see powdered donuts might like it at 13 because it looks like it might even be chunkier then. It looks like it. Shame I got that 10-hour one. Because this is one that's on, what's the title of this one? Is 12 hours really the optimum for flower growing? This is similar, actually. No, it's not that one. This is the same one. There's the photos there. Well, they had the same cultivars anyway. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I don't have the flowers, so I'm not going to go through all those graphs. But yeah, that was the results. I was quite amazed at that. And remember that yield equals vegetative time. So if you want a high yield, just put it and leave it in veg longer. Very good. All right, back to Aaron's story. Come on, no. How can it be fair if, this is, all right, reading Aaron's. How can it be fair if a medicinal cannabis patient can lose his license for 3 months and a $350 fine? Exactly the same as a rat bag young guy. Yep. You must, yep. I feel sorry for you, mate. That sucks. Goes on to say, 3 unlicensed driving with 1 driving unlicensed with THC in his system. He is not a medical cannabis patient, they said. The same 3 months and $350 fine as him. proof of unfair treatment. Oh, that was another person got the same fine as you. Yeah. Medicinal cannabis patients. Yes. So regardless of what he said, he got the same fine as some person that's just unlicensed driving for the sake of they doing it because they break the law. When Aaron was trying to be medically legal and the law didn't recognise it. Yep. And Kelly says that's not justice. Yeah. Bloody oath, mate. And it's just, and a shame. And once you get onto the, I've tried to contact the ABC on a few unfair things like this, and no news in Australia seems to want to listen. It's like as if the news people are governed or bound by something, like China is. You know how they can't speak against their regime or anyone in the world, or you get in trouble. I wonder if there's some underlying thing, because it's I've found it very odd in Australia. That's why I don't advocate for it anymore and all that sort of stuff, mate, because it's it's I can't help anybody, or no one wants my help. Aaron goes on to say the adult use cannabis bill is going to Parliament on the 31st of May in about 10 weeks' time. So if you or anyone would like to have a say, now is the time to send some emails. So good on you, Aaron. In 10 years' time, when it's legal in Australia, we'll have Aaron to thank, because he's one of the advocates that sticks with it. Where I've got hand disabilities, so it's hard for me to write, and I get hand cramps and blah, blah. But Aaron sticks with it. Good on you, Aaron. So, yeah, anybody else who want to help, please get onto the Australian Parliament website. How would we do this, Aaron? How would we have our say? Do you have any fast way of doing it? Aaron, you should join Weed Nerds. It's a little group thing that I got. It's for people that really like to help, I suppose. I don't know. Anyway. But how would people get onto this if they wanted to? Yeah, but he was unlicensed 3 times as well. Yeah. Yeah, he was a repeat offender, that person, and you're the first time doing it, and you're medical. So it's I've found that in Australia too. Some people think cannabis or medicinal cannabis is as bad as heroin or really bad drugs, and they're old school and they don't want to believe it, and they think alcohol's the go because it's legal, or why wouldn't the law do it? And they don't realize, they want to open their ears about the differences on how it actually helps. And we're not going to compare it to alcohol because we already know about that. But I just think there's a lot of old school people in Australia, and they're set in their old school ways, and it's real sad. It lets everybody else down. And the whole world's recognised it now, but not Australia. Aaron says, it was 15 hours after my last prescribed dose of oil. Oh yeah, oil will stay in your system for bloody ages, mate. Remember that chart I showed a while ago on how long it takes for it to hit in your body, for it to break down? And it's really fast to be absorbed into your bloodstream through smoking it. And in your body, it can last for days, like at decent amounts, decent levels. Because it takes quite a few hours and gets absorbed differently and through the blood, through the body. Hang on, correction here. Aaron says, don't say that, not 10 years, 10 weeks. Oh, my friends say 10 weeks. Yeah, righto. Well, all right, it won't be 10 years. There's something happening in 4 years. So apparently it has to be done before then. So there you go. But it might as well be blooming 10 years from how we're going and how everybody's been treated and stuff like that. Joe Biden goes and pardons everybody in the States for having cannabis convictions, but Australia doesn't want to even know about it. They're just happy to import it, mate, and really clean up with make heaps of money off it and do jack shit. And the reason why they're not listening to other parts of the world and stuff is because they've got that excuse to run their own studies, which is going to take time. Because they got to bind, how can we kill 4 years here? Righto. Well, yeah, we'll just say we need our own Australian studies. Righto, cool. That it rules out the whole of the planet. And then they've got to restart their own. So universities have got to try and get funding, try and get numbers, and then try and write their own studies just to do it here. So it'll take a few years. And then, yeah, see, it's pathetic. It's just dead set. I'm just not interested in it. It's such a valuable plant, but yet money rules. So can't fight against money, can you? Yeah, Ned Kelly said that's a joke. It is. Aaron says probably email. So if you want to get onto that and help Australia, so you've got until the 31st of May to write to Parliament to talk about the adult use cannabis bill that's going to get passed soon. So Greens at it is the Greens bill. Oh yeah. So the Legal Cannabis Party is a good supporter in Australia. And another one is the Greens. And yeah, hit them up, he reckons. Or go onto their websites. They've probably got it. And because it's a Greens bill, it'd be on their website. So if you go to the Greens and go down to their different things that they're trying to implement and their promises and stuff like that they say they do, it might be under there and you can sign a petition. Or email them. Sorry, make your own, start a petition. They're always interesting. And then share the link through here. And I'll share it with other people too. And I'll sign it. Yeah. Aaron says, smoking or vape, the effects last 3 to 4 hours, and oils or edibles around 8 to 10. All right, smoking. That's for the roadside police test. That's in Australia. They've got a real rapid one where they test changes in your saliva. So that's, as it says there, about 3 to 4 hours. So it's quite, yeah, accurate. And oils and edibles are 8 to 10 hours. Yeah. It's actually, it's a pH thing in this. Oh, I better not talk about it. Yeah, I'd say the oils and edibles could possibly even be longer. It depends how much fat you have in your body, because they bind to fat cells as well before they're released. So if you've got quite a lot of fat, they can hang around for quite an extra long time. You can do your own test for this. You can go to pathology labs and say that you're wanting to investigate it. In Australia, this is. Actually, you can do this in the States, but you've got also other different in Canada and the States. You've got rapid tests that you can just buy. So they're a lot easier than Australia. But in Australia, you go to the pathology labs, and it costs it cost me $80 back in the day when I did it. I'm not going to talk about that. So it might have gone up to probably $100 now, and then at least you can test your time. So what I'd do I'd have a smoke, say at 10 p.m. and know, okay, lunchtime next day, I'm going to have my test. So that's 14 hours. So I know then what the effects are. And then you can do another test at, say, 8 hours. And then you know how your individual body can handle the amount that you're putting in through the mode that you're consuming it. Because there's all sorts of losses. Like even with vaping, it depends on different vape devices. Remember that study I went through a while ago that shows volcanoes are one of the better ones, and I think you only burn 70% of what is in the material. So if your green leaf material has 10% THC, you can only possibly get 7% out of it through the volcano, through vaping. So it does vary a lot, but by you testing it through the pathology labs yourself, it'll really suit your system. Yeah. Aaron Hopkins says, that's the research from Sydney and Melbourne universities. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I can tell you that, yeah, okay. He goes on to say, but a medicinal cannabis patient cannot drive for 5 days after they last dose where'd that, well, that, you can rule that, strike that last bit out. That's incorrect. I don't care what university it comes from. I've played around with these things myself. So I can speak from experience here too. But yeah, it's pretty similar to that. It's 3 to 4 hours. I'd even go probably the night before. If you're wanting to drive the next morning, if you smoke before you go to bed, I'd say it's longer than 8 hours, and you make sure you you clean your mouth well. But yeah, so if the things in Australia will be recognised after 3 to 5 hours after you smoke, and longer, depends on how fat you are with your edibles and your oils and your plus. If you smoke it too, you'll be, if you dab, you might be getting a lot higher consumption, so that'll increase the amount in your body, so it'll last longer in your body too. So it depends what strength you smoke or you induce as well. So if you're just a light one hitter that smokes you under 10% PGRs, you might be pretty rude. Yes, all right. Yeah, Aaron says that's the TGA driving rules. Says you can't drive for 5 days after loss of license. Okay, well, I can, TGA, they're guaranteed 100% because of all of the fat, the amount, all that sort of stuff. Your exercise, your metabolism can come into it. All these, there's heaps of different factors. But in general, you're pretty safe to go off. I'll back you. And actually, I can't back you in court or anything, but you're pretty safe to go off those times. But honestly, if you're a fatter person, you have to do your own tests. If you're 10 kilos above your normal amount, I'd be doing my own tests, because I did myself, because I got a low body mass index. Did you know if your body mass index, if your height is, say, 180 centimeters, you should be 80 kilos. So you drop the 1 in front of it. So that can tell you if you're 160, so a female might be 160 centimeters tall, they should be about 60 kilos to be pretty right for their height setting. So that comes into it as well. Oh, look, yeah, Aaron says there's T88 diamonds. So they're selling that in Australia now, the diamonds finally. You can grow your own, with them, Aaron. You can just leave them out. You put it in a glass jar. That's how you do it after you start it, how you make them. You put them in the glass jar and put a few air holes in the top, and it sits in there and grows. And it might take it grows so slow, but after, you might put on about 1 mil a month, but it'll start and grow those diamonds. They're pretty cool. Yeah, so if it's a high percent, it'll be many days. Oh, no. Well, even for me, it wouldn't be 5 days. They're covering their ass. Okay, if I was going to take diamonds, how long would it last in me for the roadside tests? I'd give myself 24 hours for it to be out of my system, for it to test. And if I was driving a lot, I'd just do the test at the pathology lab myself. So I'd go there and pay the $100 and just say, because they'll ask you need a referral. You say, well, I'd like to get a job, and I don't know if I'm going to be legal or not to get the job. So I'd like to submit this specimen, please. And then they say, okay. But yeah, the TGA says 5 days after your last consumption. That's incorrect. they are covering their ass. That might be actually, for a roadside test, I don't know. We come back with conflicting things from Australian research and their studies. It's awkward because I speak a lot from experience. So good on Australia. That's why I've gotten out of the Australian bit, because I'm just beating my head against the wall, just contradicting everything. Goes around in circles. It doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, stuff like that. 5 days. Ned Kelly says that's so bad it's almost comedic. It is. It is. It's that's the education levels dealing with. It's like someone who goes to school trying to deal with a preschooler, with knowledge-wise. That's how I feel with the cannabis education in Australia. It's so lacking and limited, and people have so wanted to learn so fast, they're just absorbing all things that might be incorrect. Where I've been doing this for 30 plus years now, so I've experimented to test different scenarios to see what would happen. Not every scenario, of course, but the things that were really important to me, I've done some really good tests just to see what would happen. And then I just know then. I don't have to. So by hearing the TGA say 5 days, good on them. They're covering their ass in court, because someone will get caught and they'll say it was 4 days and a half days ago I had it, but they'll be lying. But at least they'll be covered by the TGA. TGA will cover them. Bloody Australia, mate. It'd be funny to watch these streams back in, say, next decade from 2030 on and just go, wow, listen to how things were back then, how pathetic and uneducated is the word I like. Because no one's dumb or stupid. They're just, in Australia, just the powers that be that are uneducated. They just don't want to put the time in. They want to read a conclusion of a study and that to be the gospel. Then they'll speak on that. Okay, good. This to be a nice stream. Stop talking about Australia. Let's get back into the growing. Some grow questions. I like the grow stuff. Legal. I respect the law too, I might add. But you don't always have to grow. Plants, a plant. Cannabis plant differs so little compared to other plants. Like your plant needs 17 essential elements and there's a couple of beneficial ones. So they don't really they don't. And then what's that? 3 of them come from the air. 95% of them come from the air, the first 3. So, yes, plants are good. All right. There's not much happening in chat. So I'll give it a little bit longer to see if there's any questions or anything come through. It was sad to hear about Aaron today and losing his license for 3 months and copping a fine for medically driving. If you get onto, what's his name, Brian, in the LGA in WA, Dr. Brian so-and-so, can't remember his last name, sorry. But he was doing a speech on that actually a few months ago. I was reading on that exact thing. Someone lost their license and because of the exact same thing that you did, mate. And they went to court and they couldn't even get a work license. They were just said, no, you're at home for 3 months. Who cares about your job? Yeah, so he might be able to help, or he might have some results, or someone, you can nearly appeal it. Aaron says, I'm asking them to, number 1, either change the driving time to 3 hours after your last smoke, or change the drink driving rule to anyone can drive for 5 days after their last drink of alcohol. Or he's still okay. So I'll read that again. So Aaron's writing to, there's a bill in Parliament that's being proposed for the adult cannabis use, and you can write your comments to it. So people, try and do that before it gets passed. You can have a bit of an input. And Aaron's saying, either change the driving time to 3 hours after your last smoke. They can't change the driving time though, mate. It works on your saliva's pH. So they can't do that. Dr. Brian Walker, yes, thank you. That's the fellow. He did a good speech on, there's a person that went through you, and he spoke about it in Parliament. But yeah, they can't change that, mate, to 3 hours because it's to do with its actual pH in your saliva. So if you can eliminate that pH, anyway. And then the second study said, or change the drink driving rule to anyone can't drive for 5 days after their last drive. Yeah. Alcohol's different in Australia. They've got those rad breathalyzers that they can work things out. I bought my own breathalyzer back in the day. I used to have to get it calibrated every 6 months because I wanted to play around with me and see how many drinks affected me and to what level. And it was interesting. It was totally not what the government says. But yeah. And then I had that for maybe 5 or 6 years because I was an alcoholic back in the day before I was 30 and in my 20s. And yeah, that worked out pretty interesting. So I think it was like 5 bourbons I can have in the first hour or 2 beers, something 2.5 beers. I had the maths real down pointed it for it. But yeah, drink driving's different because it's passed. It makes a shitload of money for the government, and that might be changed, in my opinion. But the change in the driving time, yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that. The next thing, make it you can have 2 cones in the first hour, then 1 cone every hour after that. That's pretty rad, isn't it? That's how it should be. Far out. When I open my cannabis lounge, it'll be going on the wall. That's cool. Nice suggestion. I'm mailing everybody again, says Aaron. Okay. But yeah, medical patients, I wonder what happens if a opioid patient blew positive for opioids, but see, they don't roadside test for them. Or if they somehow got blood tested for it, but it was their medication, they'd be let off straight away. If it wasn't a illicit drug, they'd be in trouble, but if they could prove it was a medication, they wouldn't be as in trouble, if you know what I mean. So it just hasn't been medically recognised in every state here yet. It has in Tasmania and Victoria, but everywhere else, it's good luck. It's like the law. You can grow legally in ACT. How rad's that? 4. But if I go over the border, go to New South Wales, bang, you're in trouble. Different cops. Same as I can show the cops 50 grams in ACT, but go over the border, bang, those heavy bloody handcuffs thrown on you. You call for backup. So it's just going to take time, mate. Just got to learn how things work and make them work for you. Why can't I show that? If I got a lag or something, I'll just do a little test here before I read Aaron's thing. What's the speed test? This will spin you out. There you go. I can get back and share my screen on this one. How do I do share screen quick? Present. I'll get off that one. And this will show you about the lag that's going on. Oh man, look at this lag. See? That's a pretty good internet. It's mostly up usually around 200. But so I should not be getting any type of any lag or anything like that. I feel that I am. There you go. Not bad, not bad. Yes, mailing. All right, what was it back to Aaron? All I can say about all of this Australian cannabis issue at the moment is it's all not good and needs to be rectified immediately. Yes, mate, it sure does. It's going to take many years, and I'm sorry about that, but it's just no good. Hey, Monty. How you going, Monty? Nice to see you, mate. Monty420 says, or just bring in an impairment test for cannabis, i.e. close eyes, touch nose. Oh, they've got a sobriety test in Canada for a cannabis, or is it the States? You should see it. It's Canada, and it is bloody funny, mate. Yeah. And it hasn't been recognised in Vic yet. Oh, okay, sorry about that. So it's just Tasmania, and you can drive whilst having medicinal cannabis in your system, not Victoria yet. They put a proposal in. Maybe it hasn't passed yet. Thanks for the update though, mate. Aaron says, you can definitely use those words in your wall. Yeah, that was pretty good, wasn't it? Monty says, mandatory 6 months loss of license if THC is detected in the system. Wow, that's for driving where he is. Isn't that just crazy? But I suppose it's fair enough because, yeah, they've proven that it does kill a lot of other people from people being impaired, haven't they? Yeah, sarcasm. Aaron says, it's all not good, and I'm doing everything that I can to change this from all of Australia. Wish me luck and stand behind me or line up behind me because I'm not stopping until it's done. Good on you, Aaron. He gets my support. That's for sure. Good on you, mate. We need more people like you who will stand up. Where the newer generation is sort of accepting everything. Where I'm older, so I remember how things were back in the 80s and 90s. And things were pretty mellow, like shops, good service, all this sort of stuff. And things are really changing for the worst. People don't really hold on to jobs long now, so they're not interested in the job. They're interested in the money. So there's no real lifetime careers at different positions, and it's very limited compared to what it used to be because conditions have changed. So I feel for you. And it says, talking to Monty, yeah. No, that's one offence in Vic. Yeah. Yeah, because each state's different. Crazy. What else can I say? Oh, was I going to show? Let me know if you want me to keep talking about pigments and photosynthesis and that type of stuff, because there's still a few slides I can show in that. Otherwise, I won't. This is rubbish. Lost my license yesterday. What? Monty lost his license yesterday. No way. Is that for having weed in your system, mate? You're kidding. Is it? Or drinking? Ned Kelly says, you are preaching to the converted, Aaron. I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, that's how I feel. I don't think medical cannabis should be compared to alcohol, and I agree. Alcohol is a poison. It freaking poisons you and gives you hallucinations, and that's what's the problem with alcohol. Medical cannabis, holy hell! It opens receptors, it kills cancer cells. It has all these antis in it that helps people through various spectrums of problems. It has long-term benefits. It's like comparing organics to synthetics. Synthetics pollutes everything, and organics only increases and helps everything. That's the difference between alcohol and cannabis. Monty says, yeah, first offence THC, 6 months in Victoria. Jesus. Sorry to hear that, mate. That's very bad. I know you feel, because I have epilepsy, and if I have a seizure, back in the day, I used to lose my license for 6 months. Well, not lose it, but I wasn't allowed to drive for 6 months, and that's blooming hard. So 6 months without any license, it's like as if you feel naked. It's just hard. And to say because it's THC, which for people that those folk like myself and others that smoke it from eyes open to eyes closed, and we need the medicine, it handles differently to those that just use it on weekends or in the afternoons. It's they haven't recognised that yet. So they have in Tasmania. They realise that that people look at all the deaths from cannabis. There's none. So why should they do it like that? Oh, okay. Oh no, we've got some idiots that just want to. I'm not going to get in that route. Yeah, it's Monty feels naked. Yep, it's just terrible. Don't need that rot. It's it's going to take years for that. They put quite a few months ago. They were asked in Queensland for people to write into Parliament to say the same thing. Why they should be allowed to drive whilst having medical cannabis in their system. And I didn't write to it, but it's just sad. Australia's got a long way to go. They're in the preschool mode of education in the medical cannabis field. Because even horticulturalists who know a lot about plants, the species, it's different, cannabis, and especially to get the medicinal properties out, the secondary metabolite profile, you're playing around with that, is heaps different. And then to transfer it to bring different secondary metabolite profiles into one cultivar, or to try and emphasize that, to have a high terp profile or a flavonoid profile, there's techniques you can do to that, and horticulturalists, they just don't know. It's very specialised. That's why people have to, all Australia, they're importing people from overseas. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it. Aaron says, Monty, I'm also working on something. Oh, yeah. Yes, for people like Monty who join late, the Parliament are taking in, for the next, until the 31st of May, a bill for the adult cannabis use. So it's if you're in Australia and want to change things and got a bit of time, please just jump onto the Greens or the Legalised Cannabis Party website and have a look for it. It's a Greens bill, so I'll probably start at the Greens website. But yeah, you can get on there and have your say, and just speak about the difference between recreational and medicinal, how it's medicinally active and what it does for you, and how it doesn't impair you, because those that use it from eyes open to eyes night, it's, if anything, it slows you down, it slows me down, slows everybody down. It's but yeah, for those who join late, it's happening. Aaron says, cannabis is now found to be one of the least harmful substances on earth. Least harmful medicinally active substance. So most medicine, you have a lot of side effects to it, and the amount of medicinal benefits you get from cannabis, the side effects are so low, they're virtually negligent. And for those that want to, I get incredible benefits from it. Even when I'm on rations at a lower amount that I've got to smoke, I can see the differences coming back into my body, which I don't like, the feelings that I don't like, or sleep problems, anxiety, all sorts of other eating problems. It's so difficult. So cannabis's different properties it has in it is amazing, and that combination, the entourage effect, brings on so much relief. Far out. It's really good. That's why I'm going to continue to do this show, because I'm a connoisseur and I agree with medical cannabis, and I have to help the others in Australia, especially around the false education and the bro science that's been taught. Not that I know it all. far from know-it-all, but I just had 30 plus years experience with hands-on in a large amount of way, and I've gone and studied through university now to learn about the plant's mechanisms and the chemical processes that happens through the soil and microbes as well. I just like to help. Australia's going backwards, as you can see from what happened today. Hey, Lene, how are you, Lene? Didn't know your show was back on. Yes, it's back on. I had a bit of a break, but now I'll stay back. I'm not going to do the news or studies anymore because that used to take a fair bit of my time, but I'm going to still do this. Will be the same slide you'll see each time, the one that's on the screen at the moment. How do I get me back up? There I am. Yeah, so you'll see that same one up there each time now for the next quite a few months. So I'm not going to put much effort in. I'm going to hopefully answer and help questions and do that type of stuff and just show my slides and pictures and just to clarify things. Yeah, a different route, because I was spending probably 30 minutes to an hour every day just trying to keep up on that, and I was getting very little feedback. So yeah, I hope everybody likes the new type of format that I'm going to do. Aaron says, even the worst vital substances, that is water, you can be killed directly by water. Yes, you can, Aaron. A Boston Marathon race runner, he was a doctor, I can't remember the year, but a few decades ago, and he died in the race from too much water. He drank about 8 odd litres of water, and what he did, he flushed all his body out too much of its natural salts and stuff like that, and that's why he died. So that's why the runners and all that sort of thing, they put electrolytes back into their body. So it's full on. But yeah, you can be killed from water. Even oxygen can kill you. Too much oxygen, too little oxygen. There's a lot of substances that can, but medical cannabis or even cannabis, it's what it accumulates is really the bit that can kill you. So if it's grown improperly or accumulated PGRs or heavy metals or dangerous chemicals, that's the bit can really kill you. And then how you post-harvest treat it as well. But it's, yeah, it's one of the best things going around. Oh, as it is. Doing all right. I saw the date change, so I guess I got confused. That's all right. What's the law in the US regards? Oh, yeah. Ned Kelly says, what's the law in the US regarding driving and medical cannabis? That's a pretty good question. I'd say it would be state to, actually, I've got a chart on that. It's state to state change. It's like some states are still don't even allow cannabis or medical cannabis, but pretty much all of them do now. But there's 3 or 4 that don't. And quite a few of them allow you to drive. Actually, hopefully I'll get some clarification soon. But yeah, because where it's legal in different states, you should be allowed to drive. Actually, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Actually, B-Buck, how you going, B-Buck? How do you know if weed is sprayed? Oh, that's a really good question. How can I tell? Well, if it's sprayed, well, there was a taste test. It does come, you have to be a connoisseur. I was with a friend in Canada, and he said to one, because people used to bring in samples, and he'd test it and tell people what's up and blah, blah, blah. And I was always used to hang out with him. And this one time someone come in and he tested it, and he said, you've used this chemical, haven't you? This spray. He said, I can taste that little bit. And they said, yes. So through the taste you can, but see, you got to know what you, so PGR bud is very, I'll show you B-Buck, because this is pretty important. Only from visuals, because otherwise you can taste it, but chemically it's pretty hard, mate. Like, how do you know it's got heavy metals in it? You can run a metal detector over it. How do you know it's got bad toxins in it? You'd have to need a X-ray spectrometer. I don't even know if that would pick it up. But yeah, that would be, that's a pretty hard. So what am I trying to find? Difference between PGR bud. All right. Where would that be? What's there? PGR bud's really hairy. I know where it is. There it is. Here's, am I sharing? Not sharing yet, am I? Bring the photo up. Present. So how do you know if your weed sprayed? I can show you a difference between a PGR bud. That's very hairy. This is a container with about 70 different cultivars back in the day. And you see the hairy ones? They're big and chunky. They look rad, dried properly, even terped up, but they're hairy. And then if you pull them under the microscope, the trichomes are so shrunken small. The amount of percent of THC in that is under 10%. Where if you go to one next to it, like this big chunky one in the middle, there you go, there's PGR. See that very abnormally hairy stuff. That's probably PGR. That's not, that looks nice. That's not, see, that looks nice. See, you can see all the calyxes or the bracts. That looks nice. So there you go, there's a good difference. There's PGR. See, that's just all hairs. All hair, mate. So if you see someone with that, you tell them, you tell your dealer to stop buying it off them, to change their dealers, because they're the people that get it off don't care, because that will cause you cancer if you smoke that. You keep smoking that over and over, eyes open, eyes closed each day, you're going to get cancer. That's carcinogenic. Materials have been accumulated into that plant material. I'm just thinking I've got another good photo. Actually, I'm scared here. There we go. There's a different zoom. There's PGR, the hairy stuff there. Nice. That's all nice around here. A couple of different chunks. PGR's there. There, that could be. I wouldn't risk it. And carry a little portable microscope. I got my little portable microscope 19 years ago now. Holy mackerel. I swapped it for anyway, and I used to pull that out every time, and you could see a portable microscope can see through plastic, so you can see through the bag, so you don't even have to open the bag to see what's up. So how do you know if your weed is sprayed? So the smell, the presentation, you can see if people have put effort into it. You'd know the source you're getting it from if you can. I know it's very hard in Australia. That's why homegrown is the best, because you know, and micro grows are the best because people love what they're doing and they'll put the effort in. They're not interested in money, which is most people that you get it in Australia. They're interested in money first, and therefore they're going to get a big. You're not going to be getting the medicinal properties that you'd like to get. How do you know if it's sprayed? Does that help, mate? I hope that helped a little bit. Hit me up if there's any more things you'd like to know, and I'll try and help you out, because we're sort of going down the America thing. The legality's there. But I like all questions. And remember, no question is dumb in my eyes, or stupid, or whatever people want to say. Because everyone's got to start somewhere. So good on you, B-Buck. Aaron says they actually have a new breath testing device in the States, in America. Okay. They were putting, B-Buck, the only true way Aaron knows is if it's sprayed or not, is if you grow your own. Monty says, yeah, it is there, Monty. They were testing one for border protection a while ago, and I read over a couple of years ago they were doing that, and they weren't doing too well. But yeah, they must have one now, says Aaron. That's cool. be nice to have a sobriety test for cannabis somehow. Or why can't they do a little pinprick or something? You know how those diabetics used to have to do pinpricks. Now they don't anymore. They just put something else onto it. So why can't they use the same sensors for diabetics to somehow pick up our pH in our system or in our mouth? It's mouth saliva. I'm not into that. The biosensors and biomolecules and stuff like that, they're so reactive over different things. So I'm sure they're out there. Good money when someone gets it done, that's for sure. E-Bucks is good. Good. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like to say break the law, but actually I'm not going to even say that because it might be seen to be bad. So hard these days. Got to do the right thing, don't you? Any other questions? What other things can I elaborate on or help with? Or is there any topics that you're not clear on that I can share some slides to maybe help with? And I hope everyone is ready for the equinox. Hey, did you know that you can flower outdoors? You don't have to wait for the equinox. You can manipulate the flower time whenever. You can put things over it. You can put like a big fridge box over it. You can put it in a different position where it doesn't get 180-degree sunrise from horizon to horizon. If you've got only 90-degree sunrise, so it's if you've put it next to a shed or next to something and it only gets 90 degrees, that will induce a flowering. Probably your plant might be at 6 weeks now. So that was an interesting thing I did in Canada. I couldn't believe it. It worked amazingly well. Because unless you use Trainwreck as a cultivar that is fungal, no, it's naturally finishes early outdoors. And that was derived there in Canada at Lasqueti Island. But if you've got normal cultivars and you don't have Trainwreck genetics, you can still do it by manipulating where it's planted. I found that to be pretty cool. Because if most times when you get into the winter, it's all the coldness and the moisture, and that's what brings on the fungal problems. So people who finishes too late, they'll get frost or fungal issues. So you can eliminate that by its positioner. It's cool stuff. Did a while ago. All right. So what else other equinox things can I add? Most people, if they had it outdoors, they would have seen to start to flip early. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you'd be getting ready to go outdoors, depending on your frost. Just check out your last frost days, and you can even get around that if you don't have too heavy frost. If your temperature dips down to 37 or down near freezing for 8 hours a night, that's a heavy frost. But if it dips down to freezing for only 1 or 2 hours a night, you might even get frost or a light frost. So you can nearly look about planting on those times. And then you can put stuff to protect it from the frost. So if you did have something outdoors, put a seedling outdoors, and it was going to frost, you can put some water over it. Believe it or not, it protects it from going below zero. That's what they do with blueberries. Or you can put containers over the top of it, or bubble wrap around those containers as well. So if you put a container over the top, even like a 5-gallon pail or a 20-gallon litre bucket, and bubble wrap's an insulator that'll handle it down to about minus 10 Celsius or 25 Fahrenheit. It'll just throw a few extra layers because it's got to freeze the air inside the bubble first and then go to the next one. So that's how I used to insulate my my water pipe when I was on BC, and that got down to minus 15 Celsius, and it used to freeze. But I think it was good to minus 10. So also called light deprivation. Yes. Manipulating the sunlight. Yes, Aaron, you're right, mate. Because it helps a lot. Depends on your cultivar. Because having fungal resistant genetics, you're pretty right, but it's the frost that you've got to really worry about too for late finishing. If you get rain or overcastness and frost and then rain, it's the plant will always stay in mega high humidity, and the buds the inside of the bud will be nearly 90% humidity, and nearly every bacteria grows above 91%. So you're just asking for problems. So yeah, it's hard. Got to know your environment. But now with coming up to the climate change, things are going to alter. So we're going to get all these freakish events. So they have to be ready for it. So it's good to know these things just in case. So yeah, the equinox. So yeah, the northern hemisphere. So people would be getting ready to go outdoors and starting to plant. So you'd have it ready inside, and it depends on your position. If you're going to put it next to a shed, like I was saying, you wouldn't put it out yet because it would probably reflower again. And then it would take 2 weeks to change back into veg. So you'd wait. So if you're going to put it next to the shed, you might want to put it out in a good month's time. But in 180 degree horizon to horizon, you could nearly put it out soon if it's not frost. But in northern Canada, where was that? That was I lived in the Yukon for a couple of winters, and by October, I know it's October, so it doesn't really matter for now. That's a different equinox. Okay. All right. That's about the equinox, I think, covered. And not much chat. All right. Well, how about I end it? And how about you save all your questions for next week? And I can see you all again next week. And I hope you have a really good week, nice healthy week, and save all your questions. And we'll have fun again this time next week. Happy breeding, happy growing, and good health to you all. Bye-bye.